The year is 1893, and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle has just published his story, The Final Problem, featuring the current last escapades of Holmes and Watson. Fans are in an uproar over the author's decision to kill off Holmes. This is the perspective of one fan amongst many who felt this way about his controversial decision. I can't believe it. Sherlock Holmes, brought down by the vile Professor Moriarty, the world's only consulting detective, brought down by death, off a cliff no less, in Switzerland. The lives of Holmes and Watson can't end with a story called The Final Problem. It's preposterous and presumptuous of Sir Conan Doyle. It's anticlimactic to the utmost degree. How can you disappoint a fan base by literally cliffing the main protagonist of the greatest fictional sleuthing pair of all time? Conan Doyle revives the genre of mystery and then mercilessly slaughters the fictional savior himself. Now Holmes is dead, Watson is alone, Adler is alone, Mycroft is alone, and worst of all, 221B Baker Street is left unoccupied. Now who will help Lestrade and Gregson when they're utterly clueless to solve the case? London is left to support itself and preserve its integrity. Why, that's an elaborate scheme within itself, for God's sake. But I have to wonder, what gives him the right to do this? Did he despise his own character so much that he couldn't live with the fact that he was still a relevant figure in literature? Did he feel the responsibility to kill the sneaky gentleman despite the devotion of his loyal followers? What is the Strand, though? What will become of the magazine that started the gears turning on Baker Street in Study in Scarlet? I've heard it said before that the only reason people still subscribe to the publication is for the magical plots that entwine about Holmes and Watson within its pages. It should be simple, elementary, but no. It's a domino effect. First Holmes is eliminated, and the stories stop. Then the subscriptions are revoked. Then the Strand loses profit and people become unemployed. But what of it? People on the Isle and across the ocean are in an uproar about this absolutely sudden, absolutely tragic calamity. Now, however, I might just understand where he's coming from. Even in the beginning, the author could not have anticipated what a following Holmes would gain. After a Study in Scarlet, audiences were clamoring for another glimpse of the innovative young sleuth who was new on the mystery scene. Then came The Sign of Four, and so continues the saga of Conan Doyle's ever irksome muse. It got to the point where people of the fan base thought Holmes was an actual person. Now I, being entirely logical, know that Holmes was actually based on the professor surgeon Joseph Bell from Conan Doyle's time studying at the Edinburgh Infirmary. In fact, I understand why he would want to eliminate his unwanted masterpiece. He had every fathomable right to do so. He owns the impending copyright and decision to do anything, everything, or nothing based on the demands of a slightly psychotic and murderous fan base. It is not the right of the fans to demand that he revive him. But the Sherlockians do have grounds to complain. They supply the money brought in so Conan Doyle can keep on writing. And whatever they buy supplies the magazines with the monies they need to pay the aspiring authors. Now that I can see it from an ever-wandering author's point of view, I don't know what to think. Both perspectives hold responsibility. The reader holds optional responsibility of loyalty to the author, but the author holds responsibility to himself and his integrity. Looking at it through a focused lens allows someone to become so focused on one specific part of the dilemma that they become so focused and cannot see anything outside of its scope. This is what has happened to the readers and previously to me. They can only see the fact that an actual person has killed off their favorite fictional one. They can't see the story behind the story and can only see their own personal thoughts. They can't look at the theorized thoughts of the brains behind the deduction. It was as if they had fallen through a looking glass, a rabbit hole per se. But as if to the Sherlock fan craze, it was as if Holmes had fallen from the heavens and onto the pages of literary magazines, as if he was a person unto himself and Watson was just his biographer. It eliminates every realistic factor, but it's become commonplace in popular reading. People are so desperate to escape the woes of the actual realm that they become a part of the cult, following the adventures and misadventures of a practically flawed hero. In fact, I have heard it said that the most ultimately upset fans have taken to wearing bands of black cloth around their arm to show their mourning for the fairly young detective. Now, although the fans are desperate, I imagine Conan Doyle is even more so. He just wants to write in peace. Inferring from his interviews, he just wants to escape the coverall that is Sherlock Holmes. To him, Sherlock represents a Grim Reaper. He covers everything his talent provides, including his war novels, historical chronicles, and interviews. Everything he does has to be about his hated antagonist. Holmes looms over his shoulder at all times, demanding his attention. In the story, Holmes keeps the spotlight upon himself, but he does in real life too. He takes the attention away from his creator and bestows the honor upon himself. If Conan Doyle says he's going to do something disadvantageous to his character, the public reacts in outrage. The point, though, is that he holds more responsibility to his own and his own life. If his mind and heart aren't in it, then why should he keep writing? These stories that send him through a ringer of never-ending demand that squeezes more unwanted stories from his fingertips. Why should the printers keep rolling if he doesn't want them to? Even if the pages, the fans, and his finances demand it. Even if he does need the money, because yes, they do pay well, is it worth the strain on his spirit? Well now, the year is 1893. Holmes is dead, and so is the professor. The story series is over, for now, but one never knows what will happen in the years to come. One never knows. Holmes might come back, and Watson welcomes him back with open arms. Or Holmes is definitely dead, and Watson grieves and moves on. The literary possibilities in the timeline of Holmes and Watson are practically exploding from every corner of the aisle, but it doesn't come down to that. The decision comes down to the living doctor himself, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He owns every written plotline, and it shall remain that way. He holds more responsibility to his own life and his family than to the magazines and the Sherlockians. It is a universal truth in my mind, but the Strand and Harper's Weekly and the fans still wait for the next appearance of their favorite deducing savior, because they hold a responsibility to him too. Just a very different one from Doyle's. Now all I can say to you, my Dr. Conan Doyle, is good luck, my dear Watson.